Hello, hello. This is a message to my new friends from the quilting community that I feel is necessary. Anyone who wants to talk about this with me, please do not ask any questions in chats. There are a couple individuals that are making videos right now. I saw some just in the past few minutes. And also one of them came into my chat and thought, I don't know what she thought because I knew exactly who she was. And what they like is for a person to be 100% isolated and destroyed. We're talking serious crime. We're not talking about YouTube name calling or silly video games. We're talking about serious crime. And I'm going to explain it a little bit, and I'm going to insist that you do not try to talk in chats with me about this. Put a comment under here. I will put my email up. You can email me with questions, and I will answer your questions. I do post in the posting section of the YouTube channel. I do talk about some of this stuff there because I have to address some of the stuff that's being said. My daughter died in 2010. She was found dead on the campus of the University of Massachusetts. I wasn't even able to speak for 5 years, okay? I don't want to go into detail on any of this. In 2015, 5 years after she was found dead, I gave an interview to somebody, a podcaster in Boston, who was concerned because there were other students who also died. Over the years, there were other students who also died, and the university would not allow proper investigations by the state police. Again, I'm not going to discuss this with anybody. If you want to ask questions of me privately, I will. But I don't want... I know that one of the trolls, at least, because of who this person is, I know how they work. They want to get the quilting community to take sides. I don't care what anybody thinks of me. I don't care if you want to believe the lies that are told about me. They have nothing to do with quilting, nothing to do with our lives as individuals. And I trust that everybody in the quilting community is adult enough, because it's mostly an older group anyway, that you understand about, hey, if you really want to know, we'll talk about it privately. We're not going to mess up a community chat or somebody else's channel and make it so that Good Stuff Ninja cannot go anywhere because the troll crap will follow. It's not going to follow me. I mean, it tries, but it won't. This is how to keep it contained. And also, one of the reasons why I'm doing this, instead of just quietly disappearing like the trolls want me to do, is that enough people are seeing the same kind of criminal behavior in their own other places. Like somebody said to me, they knew about the extortion rings going after people for patterns. Like in Ravelry, there's been fights over stolen patterns. And I was trying to explain part of what this extortion ring does when they target an artist. It's not just the ugly personal joy they get out of being nasty to an individual, but it's about an organized effort to control and steal property, creative property from which they can make money. Now, nobody's going to make any money off my property because it's not copyrighted. I'm not doing a business. I'm in my 70s. I'm retired. My work is mostly doing classic, traditional quilt patterns that are open to the public anyway. I'm not trying to do anything that's worth any money to anybody. So, you know, it does. But in speaking as I'm speaking, I'm allowing other people to think about protecting themselves. So this isn't just about me. And it isn't just about the quilting community. As I said, you all are my age or older. A few are older, not too many. I'm older than I look. And I look pretty old. But, okay, the things that are being published right now. There's a woman named Terry Joyce. She's a professional Hollywood performer. She's associated with the California State University. And she apparently has the support of somebody who works there. She does not have the support of the state college in what she's doing to me. And she is telling lies. She's claiming that the California University has a police complaint against me, that there are all kinds of police complaints. I checked to see if she had actually tried to make a police complaint against me for speaking up the way I have spoken up about what happened to my daughter and about the nature of this kind of criminal history that, as I said, my family has. My nephew, he's dead now. He was age 53 when he died in 22. When he was a young man, he got involved with 6 others who got him. They roped him into driving the getaway vehicle, and they went to a party, and he thought it was going to be the worst was going to happen would have been a fist fight because they had a score to settle with somebody. They threw 2 guys into a car that was obviously prepared for the purpose, shoved the car into the lake, and drowned them. The case was called the Lenox 7. You can put it into search if you want to look it up. Lenox, number 7, comma, NYT, that stands for New York Times, comma, Burke, Burke, that's my nephew's last name. You will find the news stories. It was a big headline case because it involved Massachusetts Mafia. The news stories don't mention Mafia. They only talk about the case and what happened. But that's one of the reasons why it was such a big case. And my daughter was killed in 2010. She died on the campus of the University of Massachusetts. She was 34 years old. She was a graduate student going for her master's degree in psychology. I could not speak. I knew what had happened, and I knew that a cover-up was underway. As I say, I have a lot of family in Massachusetts. Very well-placed family members, in fact, some of them. And I couldn't really even speak of it for 5 years. I was, in a state of collapse, practically. And then I gave an interview to somebody in Boston who was interested in the problem that people were beginning to notice, that there were unexplained deaths of students. And the university was not allowing real investigation. They were always an accident or a suicide or, some silly thing. No gangs on their campus. But these were gang killings. And I gave an interview to a podcaster in Boston. And that interview was up for a few years before he took it down because he was threatened. And in the process of it being up, I just went on about my life. I had spoken what I had to say, and I wasn't interested in pursuing it any further. But a couple of years after that interview in 2015, in 2017, I discovered that a professional artist, total stranger to me, was writing articles and letters and signing my name to them, mocking my daughter's death and my concerns about it. She was part of this gang. She actually eventually apologized to me because she was an artist who had been told that she was going to be doing something creative, and she had been fed lies about me that made her feel like it was okay to go after me. She wasn't American. She's on foreign soil, and that's one of the things this gang does. It uses people in the United Kingdom, in Australia, New Zealand, other English-speaking countries. It will use them online to do things like what she was doing that would get you in a lot of trouble. Because if you're American, you can go to an American court or American, and they can deal with an American against an American. But they can't deal with these idiots on foreign soil. When she realized what she had been pulled into, she actually apologized. But this is the nature of the thing. The reason why they came after my family was partly because my sister traded favors to try to, well, she did actually get her son off. The Lennox 7, who put those two kids in the car, they were all 19, 20 years old, so from that point of view, you can say kids. Those young men were acquitted of murder. There was all kinds of shady dealing going on with the trial. It cost a lot of money. Bribes were paid. One of the reasons why I had to leave Massachusetts was my sister knows that I know what happened. I was there. I wasn't there at the lakefront where the killing happened, but I was there at her house. My daughter was only 6 years old. She had no clue what the adults were arguing about. When she was a young adult, or actually just a regular adult, I tried to reason with my daughter that you cannot stay in Massachusetts because my sister's branch of the family was paranoid, always fearful, and I really didn't even know why. I was there and I saw my sister being stupid. I didn't put two and two together about the actual criminal nature of what she was doing. It was like her son got stupid, got in with the wrong crowd of people, this terrible thing happened. She was trying to get the family to pull together around him, which we were trying to do, because we know that he didn't realize they were going to do that. And they had him driving the vehicle. So he was up on the road. Well, the other 6 went down to a boat ramp where the other people were gathered and did that thing with the car. Lennox 7, NYT, BURKE. Those are the words you put in search. You'll find 1980. Well, most of the stories come out in 1983 because that's when the trials were, but the event happened in 1981. And so my sister became rather paranoid because I wouldn't cooperate with a lot of stuff she wanted to do. She had to cover a lot of bribe money. And she thought I knew more about it. What I know about it, I mostly is stuff I put after I left the family. I'm thinking, well, what about, oh, so that's what she meant about that. Duh. That's what happens when you're in the middle of something. You don't see what's going on. So what's going on now, and why does it concern my internet friends? Well, Teresa Joyce Randolph, also known as Terry Joyce, she's a B-list comedian in Hollywood. Used to make her living telling dirty jokes as adult comedy. She did the opening acts for some of the Saturday Night Live people, a guy named Owen Benjamin. I'm only saying this stuff so you understand. This is a person who as much as an idiot she might be personally, she is also in the professional business of Hollywood. At some point, she decided she was tired of being a stand-up comic, and she wanted to start a new career as a true crime reporter. And she fooled me for about 10 minutes. Okay, a real short period of time. She asked me to be interviewed about certain issues involving the internet people that come after families like mine. And I agreed. And she had set up an ambush on her thing. She thought she was being clever. And I said, okay, you're out of here. That should have been the end of it. But she is part of an extortion ring. That's one of the things they do. They call themselves true crime journalists. They look for cases. They look in the news. In my case, there was one of them that she is associated with, who is the one who delivered the threats to that guy to get that interview taken down, the 2015 interview, where I was asked about what happened because this guy was a Boston reporter who was hearing that there were several other students over the years between 2010 and 2013. There was another kid who died on campus, and the university was not letting the parents know what really happened. So he was interested. He did the interview, discovered the full story of why my daughter was targeted and why we knew she was being targeted, because one of the people that's active in YouTube even today, one of Terry Joyce's friends, was actually sending threats to me that something could happen to my daughter unless I went back to Massachusetts and agreed to speak with him and his buddies. And I was trying to get my daughter to also leave Massachusetts. And yes, the police are aware of all of this. It was reported when I received those threats and she was still alive. It was reported. At that point, they couldn't really treat it like anything that serious because it was just another set of YouTube threats. And it was like, well, maybe they'll leave her alone and, forget about it. That's what you hope. But then you get the news that something has happened and you realize. And again, I'm not going to go into details, but I'm speaking to people who are mature and old enough to understand. If you're not mature and you don't understand what I'm saying, there's nothing I can do about that. So Terry Joyce is posting stuff that may fool some quilting people, community members, into wanting to get involved with taking sides. I am not asking anybody to take my side against anybody. I am simply explaining for the sake that people have a right to know. Any questions you might have, feel free to email me. I will respond. I do not want to talk about this stuff in chats. One of the things that Terry Joyce and her extortion ring friends are doing is they're trying to control every single community. Every community. They show up everywhere. And once you understand who she is and who her friends are, you recognize them when they show up. And it's big business. The reason it's a big business, and people in the quilting community, you know this. You've seen the dramas going on in some of the pattern selling websites, like in Etsy and in Ravelry and so many other yarn craft websites where people steal patterns from other people. And sometimes it's just petty, it's just one individual, but sometimes you discover that you're up against a whole industry that is stealing your work. And in some cases, particularly in the performing arts, I have a musician friend who's been very hard hit by these same people. And one of the reasons is, if you're a musician and you're successful, and he has been very successful, your work can go on to receive royalties even after you're dead. People can inherit your work so that the publications, and if you're a designer, a quilt designer who's published a book, and the book continues to sell, sometimes when the person dies, then it becomes a bestseller because everyone wants to know what you wrote because there's all this news that you just died and you're a famous author. So your book sells. And the people who inherit your estate get that money. So there's a lot of, in some cases, there's a lot of money. In my case, there ain't nothing. Okay, I'm not writing anything. I'm not doing anything that's going to ever make these people any money. I own nothing and I am happy, put it that way. And it frustrates them. There's nothing they can take. They've already taken everything that mattered to me. And I'm going to take them down. But in the meantime, I'm also educating everybody else. Look at all the tactics. Don't get sucked in. Even if you think I'm a total idiot, and even if you like Terry Joyce's dirty jokes and everything else that she's into, don't get sucked in. She doesn't even understand the seriousness of some of what she's doing. She thinks she's just building a Hollywood career. She's going to have a true crime channel. She's going to do it by doing sneak attacks like a real reporter. That's not what decent reporters do. And then when the person refuses to go along with her, they get put on the list of, well, we're going to make all our publicity be about that individual and make sure she never gets to be anyone except the character in our little true crime drama. That's what Terry Joyce does. And she has a little bit of backing from, of all places, California State University, California State at Fresno. Okay, and she's a teacher, a tutor, or was a tutor, and I think she still is a tutor at California City College, Fresno City College, excuse me. So there's two academic institutions, one of whom does have somebody backing her up. They're not officially backing her up because what she's doing to me is criminal. She's making videos claiming that the police have been in my house, that there are police complaints against me. She's making very false statements. Somebody had taken a letter from a court case in which a threat was sent to me. This was where my musician friend gets involved. The same gang that Terry Joyce is part of that is coming after me was going after him. One of the things they do is they pull you into an argument. This is why I'm talking to my quilting friends about this. Don't get sucked into these arguments. They'll pull you into an argument where and they'll get personal stuff about your family so that you'll get angry. And when you respond in some emotional way, like call somebody a name, bang, they sue you. The member of the gang got my musician friend into a man-to-man name-calling argument. As soon as he fell for it, he faced a lawsuit for defamation. The guy, now you think I'm talking about punks, street people, basement keyboard, no. The guy that is working with Terry Joyce that sent the letter to my musician friend, sent the court case to, the papers, served him with papers, was an $80 million real estate hedge fund manager. Okay, the guy's a millionaire. And he has a history of making money off this kind of lawsuit. He put money into a documentary in Hollywood that was supposed to expose true crime. They were supposed to be exposing the pedophile rings in Hollywood. And this guy, this $80 million millionaire, sunk money into it invested in it. They thought he was going to be a nice guy, that producer. As soon as they were getting ready to launch that movie, that documentary film, he sued the director and 2 of the actors, so that all the theaters that were going to show the film dropped it, because they said, hey, you guys are suing each other, we're not touching it. See how they work in Hollywood? That same guy had set up the lawsuit against my musician friend so that if he had won, which he didn't because the judge threw the case out, but if he had won, he would have gained ownership of all of the music that my friend had published. And he has had his music on major sales across the world. And it's all instrumental music, so it had nothing at all to do with the argument between those 2 men. There was no question that he wrote a song making fun of him or anything like that. His music is classical, orchestra stuff, instrumental, but that grifter, millionaire grifter who makes his money off lawsuits, was using it as a means to get lifetime control of his life. After my musician friend should even die of old age, the music would go on to earn money, and that grifter would be the owner of it, not my musician friend's own children or child. He does have a son. None of his family would be able to touch it because it would have been stolen out from under them. Now, some of these people might think I have something they can steal, because I know that when Terry Joyce's friends first contacted me, they thought that there was a multi-million-dollar lawsuit going on between me and the University of Massachusetts, and they wanted in on it. And that was part of the reason why she was asked, because she even spoke about one of them in her own channel, she was asked to set up an interview with me. And that was why I was ambushed, so that they thought, well, if I react, then they can sue me. And she could help them sue me. But I didn't. I laughed at it. I think she still got that interview up in some of her other channels, her other platforms. And you can see where I just sat back and let it go. Nothing they could sue me for over that. But the harassment began in earnest, and then I found out that this she wrote film scripts for pornographic movies. Now, we're all adults. I'm not a prude, but I'm just pointing out her career. She wrote film scripts, and it's all in the published, you know, when you're in Hollywood, your whole employment background is published in these websites for actors and producers so they can get in more work, right? So anyone can look up her background. She wrote scripts for pornographic movies. She acted in at least one of them. She was providing services, cast services. Terry Joyce Studios is listed in one of the professional websites as providing services for a production company that was called Barely Legal. And Barely Legal was specializing in pornographic movies made representing the 18th birthday of the actor. And I looked at that and realized she is a tutor on the campus of a city college where they have advanced placement high school kids who are not yet 18. She is always promoting herself as being some kind of big star, having this background in Hollywood and all that. And she's very aggressive. When she gets somebody to go on one of her shows, and if you notice her career, she's done this with a lot of people. She has a pattern that when people realize she's unprofessional and they don't want to deal with her anymore, she comes back with harassment and extreme aggressive bullying, and basically blackmailing, attempting to emotionally blackmail the person, if not necessarily that they did anything wrong that she can hold over their head, but she can lie, and she can hold that over somebody's head. And I realized she could be doing that to those kids. And that concerned me. And then she started making videos openly stating that police were in my house, serving me with warrants. Warrants based on my alleged political opinions. And she certainly exaggerates and misrepresents some of the things I've said, but it's a free country, so I don't care. I don't apologize for anything. But she was making these videos stating this. And she was, you know, I said, this is ridiculous. And she claimed that her police department had sent a warrant to my police department here in Texas, and that my police had been here. So I said, well, I'll fix her. I'll call her bluff. I called up her police department, Fresno City Police Department. This was back over 2 years ago now, I think. And I said, I understand you're looking for me. There's a lady in Fresno by the name of Terry Joyce who has made videos saying that you got a warrant out for me. And the person answered the phone, said, what's your name? I told him, she said, got nothing with your name on it here. Who said this? And I told them, I said, we don't have anything with her name on it either. Just a minute, I want you to talk to somebody. Then she put me in touch with a detective. The detective says, what's going on? I told him. Then he asked me a little bit more about, well, can we see the videos? What are you talking about? What kind of a channel does she have? And I gave him her channel. So they're looking at everything while we're talking, okay? They're not just taking my word for anything. They're looking at the videos where she is saying that they have a warrant out for me. And he says, I don't know what she's doing. He said, we don't, he says, look, I'm looking through our logs. She's never even called. Because I said to him, well, did she try to file a complaint, and did you just tell her it wasn't a police matter? Because usually that's what happens with this kind of thing. And he said, no. He said, we would have a record of that she had called, and we said it was not police matter. We refer her to the lawyer or whatever, civil case. That would be in the logs. It's not in the logs. She never called. So it was a complete lie, not just an exaggeration. Then when he said, well, now, wait, did you say she was a teacher at one of the colleges here? And I said, yes, and I explained she was a tutor. And he said to me, that is the city police detective said to me, look, he said, I would like you to tell the college what's going on, because we have no jurisdiction. And there is a concern that if she pressures people, then, yeah, she could be pressuring some kids. They need to know what's going on. So I said, okay. And I called the college. Now, she's claiming all kinds of conspiracies with other people and use it. No, there was never any. I did speak to my musician friend about the fact that I was having this conversation with the police department there. And I did tell him, well, they want me to call. So I did. Well, in the meantime, somehow or other, some idiot friend of his went in the chat and said, hey, somebody's going to call your college. And she's turned that into a big conspiracy. It's not. It's just stupid foolishness. And I don't care. Because even if I had told that person who went into the chat, that wouldn't be a crime. I called the college and I stated that you have a tutor. This was over 2 years ago. I said, I've been asked to inform you because she has a history of harassing adults outside of the college in connection with her pornographic, true crime media career, her media channels that she does make money off. She is professional. And I said, and they think you should know about it too, just maybe you want to look into whether or not she has approached any of the students, whether she's pressuring them. And they thanked me. They said they did not know that they didn't know her whole resume. Or at least the person who was speaking to me said, we didn't know about this. Now, they don't care that she was in the porn industry. That's not a crime. Adult comedy and sex films, particularly in California, are not necessarily criminal. It's only when you get kids involved or when it's a question of no consent. But, you know, I was not alleging anything criminal about her behavior other than her tendency to apply predatory pressure if people chose not to engage with her. And the concern that she can't affect me because I'm old. I don't care. You know, she can say all she wants about me. She can cause me to have to leave the quilt community because people don't understand and they get mad. It's not going to affect my life if that happens. I'm not young. I'm not trying to support a family. But these kids, number one, they don't have the life experience you and I have to not understand what that behavior of hers is. And number two, she can ruin their lives. She can wreck a young marriage. She can wreck a young person's job. She's our age. She's in her 60s. And she's enrolled herself as a master's degree student in, of all things, creative nonfiction. That's where the college comes into play. They are actually supporting the idea that you can find somebody who has an interesting life story and then you can screw it up any which way you want and call it creative nonfiction. See? Now, I don't care if they do that. The world has gone crazy anyway. But the fact is, I did make that phone call. And the fact is, the person who spoke to me was a secretary or some person in the administration who answered the phone, said she was referring it up. Later, I did receive a phone call from a campus police detective, because California has two separate police systems. They have the city police for regular people, and all of the colleges and schools have a campus police department that handles all of those things. And that police detective wanted particular information as to whether I had seen any videos with kids in them, you know, students, not children, but her students. Had I seen any videos like that? And I had told them, no, I wasn't reporting that. I had simply reported a concern that she could be putting pressure and that they needed to know about it. And he thanked me. And he said his particular concern at that moment was whether any videos existed that were actually filmed on the premises. You see, they didn't even care if she was filming outside of the campus. They were only investigating whether she was filming on. And I said I had no idea because I never reported any such thing. And they satisfied themselves that she had not endangered or pressured any students, which is perfectly fine. That was what I wanted them to do, make sure that they knew, and also let her know that she had better not go over the edge if some student got involved with her sex comedy routines and then said, hey, I don't want any part of this anymore. This isn't fun anymore. Because she's the kind of person that cannot take no for an answer. That's a problem she has. And they assured themselves that she was not endangering anybody. They did speak to her because she made some enraged videos about it. And she continues to this day to make these false claims. Another false claim, I mentioned that millionaire. Forgive me if I'm a little all over the place, because this is the second time I try to make this video, because there's so damn much to cover in it. But I did mention about the millionaire who tried to sue my musician friend, who does actually work with Terry Joyce. They've been together on some panels, or in some chats and stuff, and she has spoken about him a lot in her channel. You know, it's big business, and the key is they use the lawsuits in a number of different ways. If they win a lawsuit, they can win control of your creative property, which means more to them than just making you pay them a sum of money, which is partly also what they win. They also have a system, and Terry Joyce was in direct contact with this woman that had contacted me about thinking I had a multi-million-dollar lawsuit, and she wanted to help me with it. And I'm like, there's no such lawsuit. I don't know who you are. You know where you can go. But the other way is, while one of them is taking you to court and you're going into debt, fighting, because as soon, like if I could sue Terry Joyce in the New York Minute, but I know that she's got people like that millionaire friend of hers and a couple others in Hollywood, and also connected with that California State creative nonfiction routine. She's got people lined up so that while to make it very expensive, because I would have to put a lot of money into suing her, and they'll watch to see if you go into debt. And they're putting liens out. They're doing real estate checks. That's why I can speak up. I don't own anything. They actually did a lot of checking on me. One of her friends actually made a video a couple years ago saying it ain't worth it. You know, she doesn't have anything. They have made a lot of comments to the effect that it's not worth it to bother me because I don't have anything, which shows you what they do. They find out if you own your own home. They find out what kind of work your husband does or your wife does. If your whole life is in your YouTube channel, they find out if there's anybody in your family that could do them some favors. Hey, your cousin's a judge. We can lean on that judge. If we can lean on this one, they go after your family members. That's what the whole situation with my sister was about. When they can't get from one, they'll go for another. And the best thing to do is just understand what they're doing, understand what kind of a game this is, and recognize, have the confidence to know that the truth will remain, even though the lies are very upsetting when they're being told. And you've got to deal with people that might believe them. At this stage, fewer and fewer people believe the lies because more and more people now understand how the internet is part of this new kind of crime. It's not a new kind. You know, extortion like this has been around for 1,000 years. But the methods that they're using online and making fake videos. Terry Joyce's friends have got my voice in a lot of their insult videos. They make cartoons. They've got a whole routine going with cartoons, with using my voice for one of their characters and using my musician friend's voice, trying to create this. They think it's stupid. But at the same time, how can we have communities if we don't understand it? You know what? There's a reason why we just ignore these people. And sometimes, if you're in the thick of it as I have been, and you recognize how dangerous it can be, you do have to speak up. But I don't speak to them. I don't engage with them. I speak about what's going on so that we can continue to live our lives. And more people now understand it. In fact, even the police departments. When I first started dealing with this, they were like, hey, stop wasting our time. We can't touch anything like this. Now, they're following the chat rooms. Some of these people have been arrested, the people that are doing this kind of thing. The courtrooms are now very familiar. That guy, that millionaire guy, his case got thrown out. And he went through a whole lot of stuff up there. He was based in Florida. He was trying to sue my musician friend from a Florida courtroom. And he's probably never going to be able to do anything in a Florida courtroom again because he had sent a letter. I skipped this part. Okay. Terry Joyce is claiming I'm part of a hate platform, a white supremacist hate platform, because somebody in that platform, in a case completely having nothing to do with anything I'm talking about, but involving the same gang, they were talking about that millionaire. And they found out that he had had his lawyer send me a letter threatening me because I was going to be a witness on my musician friend's behalf. I had offered my testimony as to what was going on. And they sent me a threat. And I sent it to the law firm for whom that lawyer worked. And I said, isn't this intimidating a witness? Is this what your law firm does? And all of a sudden, that lawyer quit. And he tried to continue the case with a different lawyer, and the court threw the whole thing out. And because that letter was part of the story of what happened, somebody got a copy of it when they got a copy of the other court papers having to do with that to put in their forum where they're just talking about stuff. And it's not even a hate forum. It's a forum where they don't do much censorship. You can get in there and be stupid. And my name shows up in it because my name shows up in that letter that was sent to me, and they got a copy of it because it's public record. And they were, the only thing they were saying in that forum was, he's a goddamn millionaire. He's going after little old ladies who live on Social Security. That's all that was. And Terry Joyce is lying about that and trying to turn it into, I am some kind of activist in a white supremacist website. It's stupid, but at the same time, that's the kind of thing that gets people who react emotionally based on stupid ideas like that. And don't really say, wait a minute, what? This is a free country, number one. That's not even a so-called white supremacist website. It's just a forum where you're allowed to cuss and be stupid and name names. They try to do it in YouTube, kick them out. In fact, a couple people were in my chat the other day when I had to delete someone who was posting some racist stuff. That's one of the things the gang does. And some of these trolls who pretend they're my friends, they're not my friends. The one that was in there with his buddies posting that racist stuff, they had been in the chat earlier saying nice things. But they know that if they can post the racist stuff, then they're playing the game with Terry Joyce. She then files a complaint with YouTube, take this channel down. It's a racist platform that she's doing. No, I deleted them right away. I blocked them. YouTube can see that. YouTube is also beginning to catch up with this gang and notice who's friendly with who when they do that. They flood a chat room. And they probably are going to start trying to flood the quilters' chat rooms. Just be ready with the wrenches. And don't get pulled in. And leave them to go off to their little cesspools and talk to each other. And the rest of us can just do our work and enjoy our creative crafts. And it's one of the reasons why I sometimes close my videos out with this. God blesses some, has mercy on others, and to hell with the rest. And you get to choose the group you're in. Thank you for listening this far. Denise Matteau, over and out.